Happy Wednesday, July 24th, everyone. Welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. My name is Hunter, and in today's weather forecast, we're going to be talking about a heat wave expanding across the central U.S., especially by this weekend and into early next week. Severe weather returning across the United States as we go into early next week with a ring of fire pattern we'll talk about, the tropics update in the video as well, and we're actually going to be talking about Typhoon Gaemi here making landfall in Taiwan. So if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe to the channel down below, like the video by giving it a thumbs up, leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. We'll get to those later on today. So here is Typhoon Gaemi that is making landfall in Taiwan as we speak, and this is actually traversing further off to the west towards China as we go through the next 24 to 48 hours and making a second landfall in China as we go into that time frame. So we'll be keeping an eye on that across the other side of the world. Now, closer to home, we are looking at a ridge of high pressure out here, deep reds across the desert southwest and into the Rockies. And this is the full force heat wave that we've been seeing over the past few days. And we have heat advisories over here into the orange. We have excessive heat warnings in the purples and these pink shaded colors from southwestern portions of Montana down into much of Idaho and eastern Oregon. Those are red flag warnings, and we have to keep an eye on that. We could have some isolated to scattered dry thunderstorms that have a lot of lightning, the cloud to ground lightning with them that could ignite some fires up here. So make sure no open burning if you live in the Pacific Northwest. Very hot temperatures, very dry soil here is a recipe for wildfires as we go into today. So keep an eye on that. This afternoon, high temperatures, record-breaking heat up here in portions of the northern Rockies, even into Saskatchewan, Alberta, Canada, and the southern Canadian prairies could be into the upper 90s to even triple digits this afternoon with your high temperatures. And then as we look at those heat index readings across the southeast coast here from the Carolinas down into Georgia, southern Alabama, and much of Florida, those upper 90s to low 100 heat index values will be likely to. So if you are in any areas that have the excessive heat or humidity, make sure to stay hydrated over the next few days. And all of this heat and humidity, it is summertime, is actually leading to storm energy. And we did have some scattered bouts of severe weather, some across the east, some across the west there, mainly for wind. And we even had a landspout tornado down here into central Florida yesterday. So something to keep an eye on again for today. We have a couple of zones we're watching out for severe weather. One up here into the Pacific Northwest. This is with those dry thunderstorms. Not a lot of precipitation coming out of these, but they could produce some gusty winds, maybe some hail, and especially those cloud to ground lightning strikes there from Montana down into the Idaho region and into eastern Oregon. Slight risk, level 2 out of 5, severe weather down into the Phoenix area into southern Arizona. Another slight risk here from northeast Ohio, northwest Pennsylvania, and into central New York. We'll be keeping an eye on that as we go into the afternoon today as well. And all of these risks are mainly for wind and hail. The tornado threat is low. So the coverage of showers and storms this afternoon will be scattered about. It's a summertime pattern we've been in the last couple of days, so expect that to fire up again this afternoon, mid to late afternoon here, seeing the peak intensity of these storms across the east. Some storms out here to the west as well. A lot of these, it shows green over here, but I promise you these dry thunderstorms are not going to be producing that much rain in the Pacific Northwest, not with the dry soil that we have and the drought ongoing. As we go into the evening, though, we're going to see the peak intensity early on in the evening of the coverage and intensity of those storms. And then as we lose the daytime heating, the sun sets, we're going to start to see the boundary layer stabilize here in the atmosphere, which means basically those thunderstorms will be going away after the sun sets and into early Thursday morning. Not before producing some pretty heavy rainfall from coastal Texas and especially Louisiana. The Houston area up into Lake Charles could see 2 to 4 inches worth of rain through your Thursday morning commute. And then scattered bouts of anywhere from 1/2 inch to 1.5 inches of rain from Mississippi into Alabama, into Georgia, North Florida, into the Carolinas here, and even a couple areas in the Northeast getting some rain. The Ohio Valley getting some light rain, generally around 1/4 inch at most if you get under a storm, and very light precipitations out west, and then very dry in the middle of the country through the next 24 hours. Going into Thursday, tomorrow, there's that ridge. It's going to stretch out a little bit further east into the middle of the country. Friday, that continues here. We got a nice trough up here, though, into the Canadian prairie. So what that's going to do is actually drive a little bit of a cold front down across the northwest United States and get rid of some of that heat that we've been seeing across Washington State, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, at least temporarily as we go into Friday here. But looking at Thursday afternoon, more record-breaking heat. Look at that, 107 up here on the Montana, North Dakota state line, 99, might as well just say 100 degrees there in southern Saskatchewan, and then a lot of 90s and triple digits out west. Beautiful temperatures in the east, 70s and 80s, low humidity tomorrow afternoon. Going to Friday, there's that cold front, that trough up there into the southern Canadian prairies that's going to bring down that cooler air from Canada, British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan. What a major difference this will be. Saskatchewan could be up near 100 degrees in some of the areas in the southern part of the province as we go into Thursday, but Friday, huge difference. Into the upper 70s we go up there, and then more triple-digit heat across the central Great Plains, northern Great Plains Friday afternoon. And this will come with a little bit of fanfare. We may have some showers and storms coming across the Canadian prairies with that stronger low, 999 millibars there as we go into Thursday. More moisture across the southeast with some showers and storms Thursday and afternoon and evening. 985 millibar low, very formidable cold front moving through Saskatchewan as we go into Friday. So a major difference. Thursday 100 degrees, Friday 79 degrees in some areas there in the southern part of the province, and it's going to be a major difference. You're going to feel that cold front, more moisture again across the southeast U.S. as we go into Friday. Here's the moisture across the lower 48. Just between now and Saturday morning on July 27th, the heaviest rains from coastal Texas, the Rio Grande Valley, all the way through the Gulf Coast, Dixie Alley states, and up here into portions of the Carolinas, the Delmarva region and the Northeast. Otherwise, pretty dry in the middle of the country, the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes region, the plains, and then out here across the West Coast, pretty dry. Maybe some moisture across the Rockies as we go through Saturday. This is good news that we are seeing the moisture across the east. This is an area where we do have that moderate, severe, and pockets of extreme drought, and the new drought monitor actually comes out tomorrow on Thursday, July 25th, so we'll be able to update you on that tomorrow, but this was definitely going to help out with the rain we're seeing and putting a little bit at least of a dent in that drought for the end of the week. Heading into the weekend, Saturday, July 27th and Sunday, July 28th, that trough comes in with that strong cold front across the northwest U.S. Ridge is across southeastern Canada here, and that's where the strongest part of that ridge is Quebec and eastern Ontario, but the influence of that will warm us up a little bit across the east as we go into the weekend. You can see the temperature anomalies, the upper Midwest back into the northern plains, we could be 20 to 30 degrees above average. Texas, the Rio Grande Valley, all the way through Dixie Alley, into the Carolinas and the Southeast, we're going to be seeing temperatures 10 to 20 degrees below normal as we go in towards the weekend. And you can see Saturday afternoon, a lot of 80s, 90s out here across the middle of the country. The same thing can be said for Sunday, although we start to warm up across the east because the ridge out here into Quebec and Ontario will be extending down into the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic, and parts of the Southeast as we go into Sunday, creating some air of 80s and 90s over there as we go into the weekend. Saturday, looking at some moisture still hanging around here, but subsiding across the south and southeast United States for Saturday. Same thing on Sunday. I think we may have a surge of moisture up through the Tennessee Valley and Ohio Valley there, just east of the Mississippi River on Sunday. West of the river, more isolated activity, and you can see the heaviest rains from portions of Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, southward through Kentucky, Tennessee there, into portions there of the southeast. Rainfall amounts generally between a half an inch and up to 2 inches at worst case scenario. For the weekend, dry across the Northeast, dry out west, and dry mainly in the middle of the country, although the upper Midwest may have a couple of opportunities for storms this weekend, pretty isolated, but especially on Sunday. Heading into next week, Monday, July 29th, as we wrap up toward the end of the month here of July into early August through Friday, August 2nd, big ridge of high pressure extending from Southern California all the way over here into the Arklatex region. We're going to be seeing some widespread heat building across the middle of the country, especially the central and northern U.S. Temperatures could be up to 20 degrees above average here as we go into next week. The eastern periphery of that ridge is going to be very active from the Great Lakes, Midwest, all the way down into the Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley, Southeast, and Mid-Atlantic. Very wet as we go into next week. Dry underneath that ridge there in the Great Plains, dry and hot as we go into next week as well. We have to look at the northern periphery of this ridge because this jet stream is going to be strong at times as we go into next week, and we have some instability starting to build. Now, the models have come down a little bit since yesterday on the instability values, but they're still strong enough to support severe weather. The ECMWF, the European forecast models, still showing some pretty high values with oranges and reds, 2,000, 3,000, maybe closing in on 4,000 joules per kilogram. Same thing there on the GFS, the American model, and also the Canadian model, maybe going a little bit too crazy with these values, but you get the idea that there is going to be some storm energy out there. So likely somewhere in this orange shaded color, there could be a couple of areas that could experience severe weather between July 29th and August 2nd. I did not have enough confidence today to bump this up to a very likely risk, but it is something we'll monitor as we go in toward late this week and this weekend. If we have to, we'll do it. Over there at Colorado State University, the AI models are showing Monday, July 29th, Tuesday, July 30th, and Wednesday, July 31st to close out the month of July. Pretty active 3 days there of severe weather with broad brush low chances across portions of the central and northern U.S. Again, something that will be refined in later forecasts. In addition to the severe weather threat, we will have the potential for heavy rain across along and east of the Mississippi River as we go into next week from Monday, July 29th through Friday, August 2nd. Very dry in the middle and western 2/3 of the country, so with the influence of that ridge, pretty dry for most of you, very hot as well. Looking at the National Hurricane Center from Miami, Florida's outlook here, you can see over the next 7 days, really nothing to speak of with the tropics, and it has to do with the Saharan dust. Again, we've been talking about this for a while. Today, it's pretty thick across the main development region. As we go into a week from today through into next Wednesday, July 31st, it starts to thin out a little bit, but we have these waves of dust still coming off of the Saharan desert over there into portions of Africa. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that. Looking at climatology, though, as we turn into early August, the hurricane season starts to ramp up climatologically, and that's when we expect to see more active named storms, tropical storms, hurricanes, major hurricanes, stuff like that. And the Climate Prediction Center, the experts over there, are showing a favorable environment from the main development region into parts of the Caribbean and maybe even the Northwest Atlantic as we get into that first week in August, but more so as we get into that second week in August through August 13th or 14th. So that'll be something to keep an eye on out there. More waves coming off Africa we'll have to keep an eye on for the Caribbean and the Northwest Tropical Atlantic. So forecast breakdown for you today: record-breaking heat across the Rockies. Please stay hydrated. Make sure to find any air conditioning here if you do venture outdoors for long periods of time. Stay cool out there. Ring of fire pattern to set up early next week. This could set up some bouts of heavy rain and some severe weather. It's too far uncertain right now to know how significant that severe weather will be, but we will keep you updated. Tropics are to remain quiet through at least August 1st. We'll be keeping you updated right here on this channel with that as well. So make sure to stay subscribed to the channel, or if you aren't subscribed, to subscribe to the channel down below. Give it a like down below with the thumbs up. Leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. We'll get to those later on today, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their Wednesday, July 24th out there.